Hi, it's Tatiana. As I say in the beginning of all my videos, I wanted to remind you that I'm not a doctor, and this video series is part of my own coping strategy. And my hope is that sharing my stories helps those who need to validate what their gut feelings are. If they are in an abusive or narcissistic relationship, you may relate to what I have to say. So that you can feel validated and start figuring out and recognizing what games are being played in your life, and you can recognize them and find your way out. So I wanted to talk briefly about winning. Some people, want to say winning against a narcissist. And there was a video that I watched. I'm sorry, I can't remember who did it at this point, but she was talking about there is no winning, and I want to agree with that. There is no winning in the sense of a competition, and one of you is going to have the gold, and someone's going to get stuck with the bronze. That's not going to happen because you are not a narcissist, so you are not going to win at a game that someone who is just completely capable of not caring about people is going to win. And if you want to be an uncaring person, you have lost. So there is no competing against the narcissist. However, I do want to validate the desire for revenge. There is a desire for justice when you find out that someone has deceived you, betrayed you, stolen your trust, and has been using you for their hurtful satisfaction. It does hurt, and of course you want to fight back. And so this is not, I think, a traditional concept of winning. But I do want to advocate, at least in my personal experience, where I feel that I have quote unquote won. And that is when I became aware of the game. When you become aware of what game is being played and it no longer affects you, you have won. Nobody's going to give you a gold medal. Nobody's going to give you a bumper sticker that says, I defeated a narcissist's game, but when you do recognize that there's a game going on and you do not participate in it and can watch the game without feeling anything anymore, you have won. And you're going to see that bumper sticker on someone else's car that they've got a honor student at middle school, and you'll know that kid ain't got nothing on me. Okay, no one's gonna pat you on the back, but I can tell you from personal experience that I was elated and encouraged that I would get out once I could recognize the games that narcissists play. So I'll give you a couple of examples. My first conscious example of winning, quote unquote, against a narcissist was when my father would lecture us. And it was random. I didn't know, none of us knew when it was coming, but he would just take with the typical gaslighting type of game where we would be sitting and having dinner with him, and then all of a sudden it was some kind of a debate, only he was having the debate with himself, and you better just shut the fuck up and take it until he has run his course. Because if you try to disagree, he's just going to get violent. So just let it run its course. And we did that, and meal times were torture. Even if he wasn't acting up, they were torture because you were afraid that he was going to act up. So anyway, I had gotten to the point, as we do with gaslighting, where you start to feel confused and frustrated. And you feel like shit. And you don't know why you feel like shit. You don't know what happened. You're in the middle of eating a slice of pizza, and 2 hours later, I was like 13, and 2 hours later, I'm sitting in my bedroom crying, feeling like a miserable fucking human being, and really not even being able to say what it is that I did wrong. But just that I was a worthless piece of shit. So I made a conscious effort to start paying attention to my father. The biggest subtle trick that's going on in a gaslighting lecture is that they are confusing you. They are taking something that you say that was said or implied, whatever, and it's getting twisted around and turned against you. And they'll just keep rambling until you're decimated. So at 13, I didn't know that that's what was going on. I just felt like my father is just such an asshole. And, I'm tired of him making me feel confused. I feel stupid when he's done. I feel like I didn't know what he was talking about, and I was helpless. So I felt stupid, and I thought, I'm not going to be stupid anymore. And I'm going to pay attention to what he says, every single thing that he says. And I have to keep track of it in my head. Certainly I can't write it down on a piece of paper in front of him as he's changing the subject and changing the cause of his berating of me and my siblings. I can't write it down, but I will make my brain focus hard enough. So I did. And probably it was maybe about a week or two after I had made that decision that I sat through a lecture with my siblings, and he had to leave for work soon. He usually, had dinner with us and then left for work. And I paid attention to what he said. And because he was arguing with himself and inserting his own commentary that we weren't contributing to, but his imagined commentary, I was able to pick out 2 or 3 different things that he was saying. So he got to the point of exhaustion, which is what we were always waiting for. So he gets to the point of exhaustion, and I calmly said, well, you said this, which means that, and you said this, which means that, and you said this, which means that. Whatever it was, whatever the actual detail is irrelevant. The point of the matter is that I waited for him to calm down, thinking that he had decimated us all as usual, and instead came back very calmly and rationally asked him an intelligent question about the statements that he had made. Now, as I've said many times before, and other people say as well, you do not want to confront your narcissist. And that is what I did, is I did confront my narcissist. And I paid for it. Yes, he exploded, yelled. Thankfully, he had to leave for work, so there wasn't even time for any type of physical abuse. But he, literally physically exploded. His arms are up. He's raging. He's instantly. But where I felt that I had won was that he was at a loss. He had no rational response for my rational understanding of his attack. And I felt free from him playing that game on me. Now, yes, I am the child of a narcissist, so yeah, he has been able to fuck with me over the years in other ways. But that was my first step towards separating from the intellectual torture of gaslighting. I didn't understand its effect at the time, but I recall watching him explode and just not emotionally reacting. And I don't even think that inside I felt a reaction anymore. I felt like I outsmarted you, asshole. And I did. And the only thing that you can do is rant and rave. And so I pretended to be afraid. I went to my bedroom. I sat on the bed. He berated me some more before he left for work. And it was irrelevant to me. As soon as he walked out the door, I did one of those, fist pumps. Way before fist pumps were popular, I sat on that bed and I fist pumped and I said, "You are a fucking asshole. You are a fucking asshole and you can't fuck with me anymore. So, and he did. Yeah, he did. He narcissists are really fucking good at what they do. So yes, he has done some meanies over the years, but that was the end of that berating type gaslighting scenario at the dinner table. I don't recall any more happening after that. So that's just one example of winning. Again, you're not winning their game. You're winning yourself back. You're winning your own self-awareness back. And I was aware that my father was playing some type of game in my gut at 13 years old. And I won my self-esteem back, at least for that particular scenario. Okay, so, and one other example was there was a guy, I mentioned a covert, overt, or whatever. It was a combination of both, a narcissist that I was with for a few months. And one of the games that he played was regarding my smoking. And I do smoke still. Took it up after my divorce. And anyway, he was well aware that I smoked before we moved in. We would sit under the tree and I'd have a cigarette and we'd talk. And, this is totally not even a concern while we were dating until the day we moved in together. And like I said in the other video, he had a new game every single day. One of the games that he played all the time, which I just had to chuckle about, and I knew I just had to put up with, and I just, anyway, so one of the ones that he did was shortly after we moved in together, he would cough. Not a cough, but he would go like he was clearing his throat whenever I would light a cigarette. And I noticed him doing it, and I knew that he was trying to passively aggressively tell me that he didn't approve of me smoking, which to me is like your own fucking problem, because we had been dating for, I don't know, 3 months, prior, and all of a sudden it's a problem. I don't think so. I think you're full of shit and you're playing a game. So, and certainly I'm not a rude person. I don't smoke around other people. I smoke outside my own home. I'm not a bitch. It's not like he was surprised that this was going on. It absolutely was a game. So, I knew this game was going on. I never acknowledged it. But it did annoy me. It annoyed me that the game was there. I am a human being. I think he was an asshole. He fucking irritated me. He scared me, tortured me emotionally, psychologically, financially. It was fucking miserable. So, yeah, I did get, upset. Anyway. So eventually, I can't remember what had happened. He had set up some scenario requiring me to help him after I think there had been a 7-day period where I had been able to literally not say one word to him, to not engage with him. And so he created some type of emergency situation where I had to pick him up and drive him to some other location. So I did. And while we were in the car, he pulls the cigarette coughing crap, and I'm like, it's my fucking car, I'm fucking smoking my own fucking car, and I know that you're pulling a game, and that's why you're in this car, and take whatever the fuck it is you're doing, you know what I mean? I'm already being a nice person. I'm strictly doing this as a nice person, and I'm not engaging in your game. So anyway, but yes, at some level I was engaging in the game. So I'm there. Anyway, I couldn't help it, you guys. I'm just saying I couldn't help it. So I say to him, well, I wonder if you're allergic. And I know damn well he's not allergic. If you are allergic to cigarette smoke, you know what being allergic to cigarette smoke is. He is not allergic to cigarette smoke. But I couldn't help it. And I had to say it. And part of his covert narcissism is that he is a perpetual victim. And so I think also it was a little bit of a survival tactic, because he did, in my opinion, or from my state of mind, he left me alone. For the course of the drive, he continued to complain and relate stories of cigarette smoke bothering him since he was a child, and what a poor victim he was. And victim about the smoke that he had been exposed to at a holiday function. I mean, something so ridiculous. Anyway, so he was entertained. He was entertained for the course of the drive, talking about what a victim he was. And inside, I'm thinking, you are such a fucking psychopath. You nauseate me. Okay. But coming back to my point about winning, I won because I was able to say, this is the game that he's playing. With the cigarette smoke, this is the game that he's playing, having me drive him somewhere. And this is the game that he plays, being a victim. So even though I was still stuck in this situation, I felt that I was more in control of what was happening to me. I could navigate his game for him so that he felt that he had his narcissistic supply without actually getting it from me, if that makes any sense. He was getting to talk about being a victim, but he wasn't actually getting sympathy from me. He was able to say that he's allergic to cigarette smoke and that it bothers him without me actually putting out my cigarette. He was able to get a ride without me actually feeling like, oh, I'm rescuing him and I'm so glad that he has completely, entirely inconvenienced me so that I'm a good girl and now he'll treat me nicely. I don't know if that makes sense to you, because gaslighting and all of these games that narcissists play are demented and twisted. So hopefully my point is getting across that the only way that I have found that you can win is to no longer participate emotionally in the game that is going on. I know many of you who are trying to get out of an abusive relationship or narcissistic relationship. You have to go through the stage of mourning the loss of what you thought the relationship was. And once you get through that forest, as I said in another video, it's still dark. It's like you get out of the forest to get into, I don't know, a dark, rain, stormy clearing, because now you still have to get through the games. And for me, being aware of the games is what breaks the clouds. Yes, of course, the last step is finally getting away and having no contact with that person. But while you're getting there, you need those clouds to part. And for me, personally, being completely aware of the game, and even though I'm stuck, being a physical participant to whatever the game is, I don't have to be, and I didn't have to be, a mental or emotional participant in the game anymore. And that made me a winner, on the top tier, receiving the gold medal. So if that's something you can relate to, or if you have your own other stories of how you felt like you won, you're welcome to put those in the comments, or at the very least, I just want to give you some encouragement that that even though you can't get the kind of vengeance that your anger desires, you can have validation, and you can get to the point where you won't be affected by those games. So just hang in there. It's okay if you make a mistake and you participate in the game. Just tell yourself, I'm going to get up and run my race again. Okay? As a reminder, I want you to memorize, if you need to, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and that's 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-7233. They are available 24 hours a day for you to talk to anonymously about whatever it is you're feeling. And I do also want to validate your anger feelings. You are welcome to call them and talk about your desire for anger and revenge. That is a healthy feeling, okay? Acting on it isn't healthy, but to have that feeling is healthy. You do need to go through the stages of grief, and anger is one of those stages. So take care of yourself. Much love.